Hello there, we are back. And as promised, and I'm trying to keep up my promise to come back as soon as possible. Here we have Mr. Sudipta. Thank you so much, Sudipta, for being here. Sudipta is from PwC, as you know. So he's going to present, what you already see. So I don't have to talk much. Over to you, Mr. Sudipta.
Thank you very much for this opportunity and the privilege to be presenting in front of you. So, the topic which I'm going to talk about for the next 10 to 12 minutes is going to be about bridging the gap between the promise and performance using responsible artificial intelligence. Feel free to ask questions. We will keep it fairly interactive also. Happy to take your questions as and when they come, because it's a very vast topic and I may not be able to do justice in the next 10-15 minutes. So feel free to ask questions. So before we get into the promise versus performance, I wanted to share some research which we have done. So we every year we do research to exactly find out what is the adoption usage of AI, because we all know that there is a lot of hype about AI in all quarters. So we always want to dissect the hype from the reality by conducting these surveys, which are global in nature, and also there is an India part of the survey as well. So surprisingly, when we did the annual AI predictions report, which we do every year, we found that whilst last year, and when I say last year, it is basically last financial year, so 18-19, there were about 20% of the executives surveyed who said that they would plan to deploy AI across the enterprise. When we did it the year after, we found a significant drop in that percentage, and only 4% of the executives actually said that they would want to deploy. So that was fairly puzzling for us, because on one hand we are seeing a huge amount of hype. On the other hand, when we are talking to the CEOs and the CXOs, they are not very confident about AI. So we wanted to do a bit of a deep dive, and I wanted to share what we found. So the first question which we were trying to figure out was that whether organizations have been able to deploy AI solutions at scale. Now, if you ask when you ask a question that whether you are using AI, you get an overwhelming response. About 67% or even 70% of the organizations will say that they have dabbled with AI, they would have implemented some pilots, etc. But when you flip the question and ask, are you reliably deploying AI at scale? Then you find that at least for Indian organizations, only 12% of the respondents who said yes, and even at a global level, it is slightly higher, but even very abysmally low. So I think there is some gap between the pilots and deployment at scale, is what we found out. So that's purely from a data perspective. Secondly, we also wanted to find out that whether your AI is monitored for reliable performance, because there are instances where the reliability of what the results are being produced can be varying. You might get some inconsistent results, you might get some results which you had not expected. So whether it is getting fully monitored, there also we found that clearly it is lacking. And also, we wanted to identify if there are any formal approaches to identification of risks. And you can find that 53% of at least the Indian respondents said no. So if I am trying to club all three of these together, the conclusion which comes is that there is already a lot of visibility, there is a lot of interest, and there is a lot of desire. But then somewhere between the desire and the actual ability to implement it, there is a gap. And that is what I wanted to talk a little bit about. So if I move on to the next slide, if we do a bit of a drill down and try to find out what are the top 5 inhibitors for AI, then you will find that the single biggest reason which people said, 58% of the people said, that lack of understanding of how AI models and applications are working. And that is very interesting, because in the previous conversations which we had with the clients, people will always say it's either lack of data, or it is lack of talent, or it is lack of budget. But the first reason which came here was also a bit of a surprise, where people are saying that I really don't understand how AI works in my organization. And hence, if I do not understand and I cannot explain it in an English language to a common person, I would not be able to deploy it at scale. So I think somewhere this story ties into the previous slide, that we are seeing that adoption at a large scale is possibly getting hampered by the fact that people don't understand how AI is taking the decisions. The chart to the right is on the positive side, where we try to figure out that what are the priorities for the AI investment in most of the organizations. Now, typically, you would always find the usual reasons, that efficiency improvement, revenue enhancement. But very, very interestingly, we found out that at least from an Indian market perspective, AI is actually being looked at as a key lever for market leading innovations. So AI is not just being looked at for simple revenue enhancements or efficiency gains. We are seeing that AI is getting used in terms of how do I come up with new products at a faster pace, how do I even disrupt the market, and how do I lead some of the innovations and jumpstart some of the process, which in my opinion is a great thing for us to see. So you see a stark contrast between the left and the right in terms of the desire on the right side to do well, but the inhibitors on the left hand side. Okay. If I move on to the next one, this is a question which talks about some of the other considerations or ethical considerations which you would like to have when you are talking about use of AI. And we find that irrespective of whether you are in India or outside of the country, a lot of ethical considerations are coming up in a very, very big way. And these are all numbers which people are talking about. So, this is no longer just on the basis of perception. So you can see that you have challenges around privacy, around interpretability, accountability, and all of these are being talked about in a very big way. So if I kind of distill all of that, there are three key areas which we think AI implementation needs to be done in an accountable, fair way. One is on the accountability side, that is, who is responsible and accountable. Second one is removing the bias and improving the fairness. And third one is respecting the privacy. So we came up with a framework which we are calling as a responsible AI framework. And there, if you find that it is hinged around three important levers. The first one, of course, is the ethics and legal part of it. The second one in the middle is where we are talking about three sub-important things. The first one is bias and fairness. So, for example, if the data which we are using, how do I eliminate bias from the data itself so that the results which come out are unbiased? Second one is interpretability and explainability. So, how do I explain in a simple way why a particular decision is being taken? So, for example, if you are disbursing a loan and the AI algorithm says that you cannot provide loan to this particular person, until and unless you are able to explain the reason, it becomes very difficult for a frontline staff to actually go and communicate the same to the customer. And the third one is the robustness and security. So robustness is effectively ensuring that for the same set of initial conditions, the model is giving you the same results. So it is not behaving in an unpredictable manner. And of course, the security is very, very important. And then the last one below that is all about the governance, because that is something which, in our enthusiasm to build a lot of new things, we kind of keep it on the backside. But governance is probably ever more important for ensuring adoption, particularly for AI projects. So we have come up with this framework, which has got about 6 steps. Starts from conceptualizing and strategizing, which is one, and then in terms of the planning part of it. The third most important part is building the entire ecosystem, because we believe that organizations all by themselves may not be able to do it. They would need to create an ecosystem of technology vendors, ecosystem of their partners, and then also drive it along in their organization. And then comes the loop, which is step 4 and 5 in terms of development and deployment, which goes in the bit of a loop in terms of ensuring that you are delivering phases, you are continuously doing course correction, and you are continuously engaging with the business to deliver the benefits. And then You don't even stop at that. You move to the next stage, which is the sixth stage, where you would like to ensure that there is a regular review and there is a support for doing it. So it's not that you have just built the product and you have left it. There is a continual support which needs to be given for it to scale in the organization. So I thought I'll just share this framework with you. I'll quickly move to the two case studies, which I thought I'll share with you. The first one is for a large organization where NLP has been used, and these are examples, which we have seen that using a very structured approach has helped to not just remain in a very small part, but kind of scale it up to the entire organization. And some of the methodologies which I was talking about has really helped to promote and to ensure that the promise of the AI is met in terms of its performance and impact in the organization. And then also we have seen assignments and projects which organizations have done where they are looking at AI governance in a very big way. And that is primarily because you want to ensure that you have the right answers to not just your customers, but also to the regulators, to the other stakeholders which you have. And here, the transparency of the decision making process becomes extremely important for anybody to accept a solution which is primarily based on advanced analytics and AI. So with that, I'll take a pause because I know, I'm just at 11 o'clock now. So I'll be happy to kind of take up questions for the next 2-3 minutes and answer your queries.
Sure, then. Thank you so much, Sudipta. So maybe you can stop sharing the screen and then we can address the questions. So, hi, audience. You know what to do. You just have to click on raise hand, and you can come on stage and ask a question to Mr. Sudipta, or maybe you can drop in the questions at the question section. Yes, we are waiting for you. Yeah. Thank you for the.
Thank you for all the likes.
Sure. Okay, we don't see any questions coming in yet. Okay, we're still waiting for questions. Or maybe, okay, we have Ajay coming in. Okay. Yeah, Ajay.
I thought I'll just step in and probably act as a prompter for other people to ask as well. So, Sudipta, what would be the roles of human in developing responsible AI? I mean, we keep talking about man-machine interaction and the role of different. So, just like in teams, you have different kind of people bringing in different kind of thought processes to solving problems. How do you see the role of humans in evolving or developing AI and making it more responsible?
And I will answer it in three ways. I think there are three distinct roles which humans will have to play for building responsible AI. The first is about ensuring that anything which we are building in the model itself is very carefully designed. So, whenever we are talking about either bias in the data or instability in the model or explainability of the model, that needs a huge amount of human intervention to build it. So, at the build phase, how do you bring in all these checks and balances? So that not just removing the bias, you're also able to explain it in a very simple English. It's not about using a lot of technical words like deep learning and all that. And when people don't understand, they don't use it, right? So that's one. Second place where humans will have to play a very big role is that to act as evangelists or champions in their organizations to promote the cause of AI, not because of anything else, but it just makes lives easier for them. There is a widespread, misconception about what AI can or cannot do. At the end of the day, it's the responsibility for those champions to tell that it is just like any other tool which you use to enhance your productivity, efficiency, effectiveness, and all that, right? So the role of those champions become extremely important in organization, and that's a completely a human-driven approach. And the third piece, which becomes very critical, is a top-down governance approach in terms of where do you actually put your money and what kind of projects do you sponsor and what kind of organization structure you build in to use AI because it has to go away from just being a simple experiment which an organization is doing, to something which needs to be done in a very, very strategic way, because it is going to help you improve your bottom line, your top line, help you improve your innovation and all that. So that governance part is again something which humans will have to devise in the organization, so that AI solutions can be built in a more responsible manner.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ajay. So let me give to Rahul, and then there's quite a few questions at the question section. If you can click on that, Sudipta. So let's finish with Rahul. And hi, Rahul. Rahul, you can go ahead. You're live.
Hi, can you hear me?
No, your voice is very low for me. I
Okay.
mean, it's
Yeah, thank you,
way
Mr. Ghosh,
too
for the brilliant
low. Not
presentation.
able to hear you clearly.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Is
Okay.
it audible now?
Meanwhile, let's go to this question section. Kia Rama asked that, where do you see the next investment happening in India?
Well, I think if you look at the sectors which are very ripe for being used for AI, I would clearly say that education and health are the two sectors which will benefit significantly using AI. I'd also mentioned in the panel discussion before, I think, which was happening last week, is that the entire judiciary will significantly help a lot using natural language processing and natural language generation techniques, which are nothing but subsets of AI driven techniques. So, this is what I think. From an industrial perspective, I think auto is a sector which is far more advanced globally, and the same will come to India in terms of usage of uh, uh, AI, edge computing, and AI for the devices. We are also seeing a huge amount of traction in banking and other sectors where AI becomes an important tool for reaching closer to the customers and also managing the risks. Cybersecurity will be another very big area where AI will have a role to play because of the changing nature of threats and the ability for you to then continuously adapt to multiple challenges which comes because of cybersecurity related challenges. So these are some of the areas where I think AI will have a very important role to play, and that's where probably the investment will also come in.
Sure. So we'll go to the next one. Do we have industry-wise breakup of the inhibitors? So that's
Yeah,
from Carl.
so I think good question. We also did a industry cut as well. Interestingly enough, we did not find a significant difference in the top five inhibitors by sectors. So by and large, the top five which you are seeing, which I showed to you, is common across most of the industries. The relative ranking of them can change, but the inhibitors are very, very surprisingly very uniform across the board. So whether it's a challenge about explainability of the model, the challenge about availability of the data, it's about availability of skills and technology, all of these remain as inhibitors in most of the organizations in some shape or form.
So the next one we have, this is from, I think I remember this person. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. That Genosio from Brazil, if I'm not wrong. So hi. I think I met you as well. So anyway, I'll come back. How do you see the impact of AI in retail?
Well, I think the biggest area which traditionally has been is how do you get closer to the customers or consumers, per se, right? So and there are different ways and means to do that. So we have seen applications of using recommendation engines for retailers, primarily for online, but also for offline as well. We have seen promotional campaigns which are being run, which are powered by AI. Why AI? Because you want to trigger a particular response based on a type of behavior. We have also seen that there are IoT solutions which are available where you are actually tracking the footfalls, you are tracking which areas are more susceptible for people to look at and stay, where you will be able to put your premium products. That is more on the customer side. Then there is a huge amount of AI which is there on the logistics side, because you need to ensure that the goods are being supplied at the right quantity at the right time, the huge number of different SKUs which you have, depending on the nature of the retail, whether you're in fresh or in others, you will need to have, there will be a shelf life for every product which needs to be carefully managed. Also, retail is a low margin business, at least in India, to a large extent. So you have to manage your costs very well. Otherwise, you will not be able to, make money or margins. So that's the second area from an entire logistics perspective where AI can play a very very big role in terms of managing your service levels, managing your inventories, etc. And then the third area, which can be very, very important for retail, is the entire procurement side, because you have to deal with a large number of manufacturers, vendors, etc. And how do you then use AI to ensure that you are procuring at the right price, you are the right quantities, the entire demand forecasting, all the way to your procurement planning. The end-to-end integrated planning is one very very important piece which needs to be looked at. Sometimes you can't even predict very well, so then you have to build a very very resilient supply chain. So the resiliency of the supply chain can be enabled to a large extent by using simulation based techniques which can use AI. So multiple areas. So this is the third area which I think from an overall supply chain where retailers can significantly benefit.
Sure. Then. Thank you so much. We're just running out of time, Sudipta. So quickly, if you can answer three questions, I'm not taking more than that. So maybe 20 seconds or 30 seconds for each. This is an interesting one. Do you see one of the inhibitors of AI being humans, resistance or bias to develop new technologies, as humans could get replaced? I think this has been a topic of discussion for years together.
Great question. This is not just only the disadvantage of AI. This is a disadvantage of any new thing which comes up. When computers came in for the first time, there was a huge resistance that people would lose jobs. When any new technology comes in, there is a natural resistance for a country of our size and scale, and that's absolutely natural, and cannot be faulted. And hence, just like any other technology, it needs to be told what it is, what is the art of possible, not get carried away by hype, but use it more as a way and means to improve the current situation, improve the productivity. India is a very vast country with a huge amount of challenges, whether it's a geographical breadth or it is the sheer challenge of reaching out to so many people. And there are some very very specific sectors which are just a natural fit for AI. So AI, as it is used in the Western countries, need to be fully customized in the way it needs to be used here. In the West, the focus will be more on replacing humans because they don't have enough labor. In India, the focus of AI is more in terms of how do I reach out to more patients, how do I reduce my cost of healthcare, how do I make the education outreach increase because of AI. So the problem statement in India will be very different for the same technology, and we have to be very cognizant that not necessarily copy what is there in the West and apply here, but be very careful about the needs and the desires and the challenges, and use AI as a tool to address that. AI is just a tool. It has nothing, no good or bad to be associated with that. It becomes good if it is applied for the right cause, and that's what we have to do.
Okay, that sums up. There's two more questions. I'm going to club it up together because it means the same to me. So technology has always been evolving. How do you see businesses opening up to adopting technology? That's one question. I'm joining up the other one. It says, do you see COVID-19 increase the adoption of AI due to increased need for digital transformation?
Sure. So if I take the first question, how do you see businesses opening up to adapting technology? I think the answer is very clear. The answer is that every business wants to improve their effectiveness. They want to improve their reach. They want to lower their costs. And technology is a great tool and an enabler to do that. So from that perspective, AI just helps in that leg in terms of helping the businesses to achieve their outcomes. So to that extent, technology and AI and technology related to AI will also continue to go down that same journey. Going to the second question, if you see that already there is a huge amount of focus on a lot of online activity, whether it is telemedicine from a healthcare perspective or it is an online education, because people will have to sit at home and work to a large extent. It's a new normal. Everybody's talking about that. So there would be an increased need for using technology at a large level, overall level, and as a subset of that overall technology, AI will actually get a huge amount of fillip and support, because we may not have any other option but to use that technology to stay effective. So I see that yes, the current situation will actually enable or make the use of AI a little more widespread, because we may not have too much of a choice, particularly in many sectors which we are seeing, because we have to continue to increase the productivity and improve the engagement with the business and ensure that we are able to do our work in a seamless manner from wherever we are.
Sure. Then. Thank you so much, Mr. Sudipta, for your time here. It was pretty knowledgeable. Thank you, everyone, audience. And then how how to give a big round of applause. At the bottom of the screen. Please do that one right now. And then I'm saying we're going to back. In 2 minutes time, we have an interesting discussion coming in. Thank you so much, everyone. And just a little heads up to the upcoming speakers that when the session is live, your social launch will be locked up, and your backstage will be locked up. So I have the key to it, which I'm going to unlock it right now. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Great interacting with you. Fantastic questions. Look forward to remaining in touch.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much.